And the first proper time I stepped outside my comfort zone, once I'd become a professional, was I was making a promotional video for Kent Police, and one of the pieces I needed to do was to film a bit with Paul Scally, and he's the chairman of Gillingham Football Club. And after I did the interview, he said, "Oh, have you heard of my charity? It's Take Heart Mersey Mission." And he showed me a promo clip, and he said, "It's a bit outdated though, it's a few years old, but we're going to be going again next year." And without any hesitation, I thought, this is an opportunity right now. So I said, "I'll come and film the next one." And I just thought, what am I doing? Like, I thought to myself, what are you doing? I thought, yeah, I'll come and do it. He was like, really? I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll take some shots. I'll do some filming for you. He was like, oh, okay then. So that was the first time I'd ever flown that distance. I'd only flown to like Germany at this point. And so I flew to Sri Lanka on my own to meet the team out there. And it's a beautiful charity. They perform pediatric heart surgery on kids in Galle, Sri Lanka for free. And so my job was just to document it. And this is what spurred my love for travel photography. This is when I started travel photography and realized what a love I had, the documentary side of it, but also the portrait side of it, combining that. And I was able to get these amazing images and come home and tell these amazing stories, so much more interesting than taking a corporate headshot. Because another thing with doing the corporate side, and that's fine, we still need to do the corporate side to pay the bills, but I realized that was the only thing on my website, and was asking myself, why am I only getting called up to do corporate headshots? And I thought, well, that's because that's the only thing that's on my website, of course. No one else knows that I do anything else. So this is why I had to prove my worth, and I had to go out and do some travel work myself. So I self-funded with STA Travel. I like to use STA Travel. They have a branch in Bluewater in Kent, where I'm from. And what's nice about STA in particular is that it's not just your flying hotel. You can book excursions, which is great. And I always have private excursions because I don't want to feel like I'm taking up time in a location when everyone's trying to jump back on the bus. So I do pay a little bit extra, and I go for the private tours. And I'm able to get these really cool shots. I'm able to do work at my own pace. The guide is there to help me communicate with people so that I can get shots like this. So it's amazing. So I've self-funded trips to Vietnam, Sri Lanka, and to India, and Ethiopia was actually a commission from Olympus that I did last year. But I was only able to do that because I proved my worth first, because Olympus could see I proved my worth first by stepping outside my comfort zone and trying these projects for myself, proving your worth first. John Lewis isn't going to call you up to do an advertisement if you haven't done something similar that you can show off to, you can prove to. So I took this one so this was in Vietnam, and this was shared on Canon's Instagram, and by the time I've landed back in the UK, it had 20,000 likes. And I would never have been able to get future opportunities if it wasn't for stepping outside my comfort zone. So that's the first thing. And I realized that another thing that gives me creative block is too much social media will hinder your creativity. You know, you hear about how you get that serotonin high when you get lots of likes on Instagram and Facebook, and it feels good, right? But I realize, and I don't know if you guys feel the same, but for me, when I receive a lot of likes on a picture, it started to influence me. And this is where I've stopped myself now, but back then, it started to influence my work. And I think, oh, people like the look of this, I'm going to shoot more of this. And I think to myself now, why did I think that? You shouldn't think that, because if you're just shooting that stuff, it's not really what you want to do. You're doing it for the wrong reasons. You're just doing it because you know you're going to get a lot of likes on Facebook, because you know that it does well. It might have been a trending topic. So that's something that I think that you guys need to get out of, is social media can hinder your creativity. So don't be too bogged down. I always wonder, what if we removed the ability to even like anything on Instagram or Facebook? You imagine that all you could do is just comment. I think the way we measure likes is different, a number of likes more specifically. The way we measure number of likes is different to how we measure number of comments. I know that I don't look at a picture and think, that's got more comments than that one, but then we do know that people say, oh, that's got more likes than that one. And we know in the room, we know all here that that's not a measure of how good you are, is it? Likes are not a measure of how good you are. So I do often wonder if that would, if that would help people if you remove the ability to like. And your social media is just literally a platform for you to share your passion and your love, your work, and not be hindered on social media. Another thing is stop comparing yourselves to other creatives. So I can see smiles in the room now, they're like, yeah, I've done that. We've all done that, haven't we? Because comparing yourself with other creatives will also hinder your creativity. And I had a really interesting chat with my friend, and when I look at, say, my photography heroes, and you probably do the same, when you look at your photography heroes, and again, it could be on social media, when you see that every other week they're posting an amazing portrait session they've done, you think, wow, that's so creative. I wish I could have the opportunity to do that. I'm just doing lots of corporate work all the time. And then I had a chat with my friend, and he said, how do you know that your photography heroes are not doing corporate work? They are. They just don't post about it. And just like me, I do corporate work, but I don't really post about it, if any. So comparing yourself to other creatives is so bad because it can bog you down. So when you think about it, your photography heroes, they will be doing advertisements. Rankin will be doing advertisements and probably won't post about it. Peter McKinnon, he still shoots headshots. He just doesn't post about it. He said it in one of his videos. So you still have to do the corporate work, but don't be too bogged down by if you think that all you're doing is corporate stuff, for example. You will only see what you want to see. So when you're constantly looking at someone's Instagram or their Facebook, and you think, why aren't I doing that? I go, well, you can do that. You just need to step outside your comfort zone and realize that your heroes are doing that work. They're just not posting about it. Think like an amateur. So this is a great quote that I've got from one of my favorite authors called Austin Kleon in his book, Show Your Work. And he says, think like an amateur. And this is brilliant. And I love this because if you are in a state where you're a pro already, or you're on the verge of becoming pro, when you think like an amateur, if you go back to the beginning of when you were an amateur, if you were, you didn't mind taking risks. You didn't mind experimenting with your lights. And this kind of reiterates what I said at the beginning about stepping outside your comfort zone and being afraid to take risks. If you think like an amateur, amateurs have nothing to lose, do they? Whereas if you've got a bit of a following online, you feel like you've got a reputation, and it may be you're afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to show your work and to share your creative process, because that is what people really are interested in. I know that I have a lot to thank of my professional creative success down to the way I share my creative process. Not the final images themselves, but I've actually got more work from my creative process, from my behind the scenes, the way I share my stuff, the way I present myself on videos or in blog posts, that sort of thing. Because we're so interested and fascinated with the creative process just as much as the final product. In my behind the scenes videos, I can show how I'm working with a client, what setups I use, what photography gear I use, that interaction. You can't show that necessarily sometimes in the final product, but you can when you share your creative process. So if you think like an amateur, share your creative process, and I think that would just really help you get out of that comfort zone and potentially lead you to more work, which it has done for me. It all comes down to personal projects as well. I do one personal project a month, which is just an idea for me, no one else. So it allows me to experiment with something different that I think, oh, that could be good to try, but I'm not going to try it on a paid client. I'm going to try it with a personal project. And then if it goes well, I can use that on a paid assignment. It's been tried and tested. You add another setup to your arsenal at the back of your mind that you can throw out in front of the client, and it makes you look great. So that's why I always do one personal project a month, and I've been doing this for the last 2 years now, and I try and get them filmed for my YouTube, and we're filming right now for my YouTube. Mike, who films all of my contents at the back, filming all of my stuff. So I've got some examples of personal projects that you could potentially try. Photograph a member of your family. I did this with my nan a couple of years ago, and it was brilliant. I loved it. We also filmed an interview as well. I learned so much about my nan that I didn't know. Like I didn't know that she, I've totally forgotten the actress in Mary Poppins. What's her name? Julie Andrews, yeah. I didn't know that my nan went to drama school with Julie Andrews. I was like, tell me more. And then afterwards we did a photo shoot, we did a portrait session, and now that those pictures for me, she'll live forever. She'll live forever in those pictures. And if you can attach a story with it, because that's what it's all about. It's all about storytelling. And if you could do that with, say, a member of your family, that'll be an easy one. That's a great personal project to try. Because your nan's not going to worry about you taking your time setting up your softbox or moving around. She's not going to care, is she? So maybe give that a go. Or even just your mum or your dad. Shooting on film. So I now shoot a lot on film. I've now found a huge love for it. And what I love about shooting on film is how we as people, we're not perfect, and neither is film. And that's why I love shooting on film, because it's imperfect. You have the imperfections with film. You get that kind of grain and stuff, and you get that dust specks on it, and it just feels like a perfect medium to photograph someone with. And there's more things that could go wrong in the process, as we know, but that's what makes it more exciting when you finally get a negative that looks amazing, and then you can share it. I think this was shot on film. Digital just makes it a bit too easy sometimes, so that's why it's a nice experiment if you've never shot on film before. Use a different lighting setup. It's a really simple one. So use a personal project to, you know what, I've never tried a beauty dish with a grid and then put the sock on as well. I've never tried doing that before. Try giving that a go. Never tried setting up strip boxes behind. Never tried setting up 3 lights instead of your usual 1 light. Give it a go. What have you got to lose? You've got nothing to lose by experimenting and trying something new. And photograph a genre you've never explored before. So maybe you're, as well as photography, you're really into cars. You're really into rock climbing. I'm really into rock climbing at the moment. So I'm going to potentially do a personal project where I'm photographing a really quite established rock climber, do a portrait series on that. So just think in your heads now what you could potentially do with this idea and how you can use these ideas to get you out of a creative block if you find yourself in one in the future. You think, right, how can I just stop for a minute and really think outside the box? As you saw in the trailer there, I woke up and thought, wouldn't it be cool to put a girl on a bed in the middle of the lake and make it almost like she's waking up from a dream, but she's still in a dream? I think that it was a blow-up bed from Argos, 40 quid. And I found, just did a bit of research, I found a lake in Maidstone in Kent where I'm from, and they agreed to it. It's just little ideas. You just need 1 or 2 little ideas to put together and you've got an amazing project that's just a little bit different to maybe some corporate stuff. And also, take the worst photo. So this is another thing that Austin Kleon said, and I love this. If you go out with the intention of taking the worst photo, maybe you're going on a family day out, I bet you would actually create something half decent. And again, it's allowing your mind to not be fixated on perfection and worrying about what my audience wants to see. It's about you. It's all about you. If you've got a love for something, they will come to you. Don't find an audience which works well online. Photograph what you love, what you really want to do. And here's some more ideas to try. Collaborate with other creatives. So I collaborated recently with Sean Tucker, who you may know from YouTube. And we had a brilliant conversation, and I did a photo shoot with him. He asked me to photograph him for one of his YouTube videos. And afterwards we had a chat, and I filmed that bit for my YouTube channel. So I kind of hijacked his setup, and I did a bit for mine. So I also collaborated with my friend Lauren. She's a food photographer, an amazing food photographer. And we shared ideas how she likes food and how I like people. So I photographed food and she photographed me, and I got quite a nice portrait out of it. And it was really nice. And we tried to film as much of the process as we can. Work in a different space. So sometimes my sister works at Starbucks, and sometimes I will pick up my laptop and move from the kitchen table, which I'm at most days, or in my office, and go to a different setting. And sometimes that's enough to just kind of change the atmosphere. You know, there might not be a lot of maybe natural light, but going to my local Starbucks, I kind of like the white noise actually in the background. It actually makes me work a lot faster. I'm big on films. I've got a degree in filmmaking, so I love watching films and seeing how cinematographers light their sets. And sometimes you can get some ideas for your photography with that as well. And maybe you'll do for your next project a cinematic lighting project that you want to do in the future. Listen to concentration music on Spotify. I didn't think this would work. you've seen those concentration playlists on Spotify, and they genuinely work. I wrote a blog post and I thought, yeah, I'll just throw this on. And I wrote 2 pages like that. Like, I am the slowest writer. I'd much rather just talk to camera. But I needed to write this thing down. And so listen to concentration music on Spotify or Apple Music. They do work. They really do. I don't know what it is, but it just gets me in the zone. And step outside your comfort zone, as I said. For me, the key to success is progression. If you're not progressing, you're not succeeding. So that's the only way you can get better, is if you progress. And then finally, what have you got to lose, as I keep saying? You literally have nothing to lose. I've got a video that I did promise you at the start, which sums up everything that I've spoken about today on how to overcome your creative block. So this was a shoot I did at the end of last year with the model Ayla Rose in Chatham Historic Dockyard, which is only around the corner from me. And this is a project where my very first personal project was doing a ballet shoot. And fast forward to today, I wanted to see if I could better myself from that very first year I did a ballet shoot. So I tried to step up everything. And this is what I created. If you're a photographer, videographer, or artist of any kind, I imagine that, like me, at one time or another, you have found yourself stuck in a creative rut and use a personal project to try something different. What have you got to lose? Thank you ever so much for listening.
We've got a couple of minutes for questions. If anyone's got any questions, Tommy here.
Hello.
Hiya.
Hi. Quick question. I mainly photograph in actual light, but I noticed that you do use lighting setups for like a personal project then.
Yes.
If you could recommend one light setup, and I don't mean a setup as in like where to put them, I mean like one lighting.
Yes.
What would you recommend for on-location shoots?
Yeah, no, great question. I'm here representing Pixapro on the E91, and I'm selling my signature travel kit over there, and that comes with a 90 centimeter softbox with a Pica or AD200 and a reflector. That is my go-to when I'm traveling. So all the travel stuff you saw at the start was taken with a 90 centimeter softbox with a Pica. That is my go-to for on location.
Anybody else?
Is that the one that you used at the trial in the lake as well?
No.
Is it similar?
Just a question down here. Yeah, the one I used in the lake was from a company called, it was Elastilite softbox before.
Similar size though?
It was similar size, yeah.
Sorry, what was the question?
Sorry. Someone asked in the lake shoot, was it the same size softbox? It was more or less the same size, but it was a flash gun though. It wasn't a Pica, so I was dealing with a flash gun.
Any others? Great. Where are you going to be today, Tommy?
I'm going to be over on the Pixapro stand doing a demo about dramatic portrait lighting over on stand E91 at 12:30.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. Great presentation.
Thank you ever so much.